Hey guys, it's Bryce. I know it's been a long time since I posted a video on my YouTube account, but about a week ago I sat down with a longtime DC friend, ObsidianChill, and we discussed PvP and some of the things that we were hoping that they could possibly address if the developers ever looked into it. These are just a bunch of ideas we bounce back and forth off each other, and he has a video already on his YouTube page, and I'll be posting a link to his channel so you can check it out there if you'd like to. Other than that, I hope you enjoy. Yeah, I just thought we could get together and just, kick around some discussion about the PvP and whatnot, seeing how it is absolutely in ruins. Well,
Yeah,
at least Arena is. Legends needs some some tender love and care, but it's nowhere near as bad off as Arena is.
no, that's for sure.
But yeah.
Like Legends, it's a little bit easier to fix.
Yeah, definitely. So that's what I wish they would just go ahead and just do a couple little small fixes here and there, which is why I keep posting about. Well, I don't keep posting about. I've made one post about the Batman and Robin's block breaker and Two Face's rifle combo not being blockable. Um, but I mean, I say Two Face, but John Stewart is the same way. You can his rifle taps are unblockable.
Yeah, Rifle always had that was the five tap, and because the blocking changes from three to five, like he could do its full combo and then hit you. And then it was just like what was it? It was Rifle Flurry, wasn't it? The Weapon Master combo that wasn't blockable, or was that Flamethrower?
I'm not sure to be honest. I can't remember.
Can't remember. It was some everyone was used Rifle for duels and stuff for a while, like for an extended stretch. Like all that you'd see was rifles
Uh,
because it was one like Bud combo.
got you. Well, I definitely feel like they should, I realize that they're not gonna give uh, PvP like a full on, makeover like they did, like 3 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago,
Yeah,
whatever it was. I realize they're not gonna do that because they're just not gonna take the time out because, like they said, they're all focused about money and money right now. Which I mean, it's a business. I get it, but I mean, at the same time, it's kind of like, hey, don't you want a well-rounded game instead of it just being one-dimensional? I mean, because most,
yeah, because it's still like PvP was still like a whole second element of the game. Like there was a time the devs actually cared. Like you remember, it wasn't layer battles. It was some other PvP update where it was like Spittle, Spore, Drenz, Tunzo, Aspera. Like they did 5v5 Watchtower scrims against us,
yeah, I remember that. Yeah, they
and
actually
like
fought us.
so they obviously cared at some point enough to play.
Yeah,
And then I don't know, it was just became too much of a hassle where it was like too much stuff conflicting with PvE, and then it had too many negative results to PvP, and it just didn't become worth it. But I know stats revamp, they didn't even think about PvP. It was like a complete, not even afterthought.
yeah, that was
So
an
all the stats revamp changes came out and just like destroyed every aspect of PvP, changed everything.
Yeah, that was actually one of the reasons I decided to take the break that I did whenever I was gone for 9 months or so, from the end of last year to pretty much about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, because whenever Stat Revamp was coming out, I did multiple testing on test server for legends and other things, so I could give them like reports and tell them what Stat Revamp was messing up, and they did fix a few small things. I will give them that. Like there was a power back issue in Legends, I believe, and whatnot. And and I reported it, and they did eventually address that before Stat Revamp came out. But overall, I mean, they actually straight out came out at one point in time and told me they said PvP is not a concern right now. We're just worried about getting the PvE side of it,
Yeah,
in line. And I understand, but and then I reported Catwoman and Cheetah's weapon style, or not weapon style, but weapon that they use, which is called feline, whatever it is. It's like a different version of martial arts.
yeah, it's a
So
variant on martial arts. So the martial arts was changed with all the weapon passes, but theirs wasn't because it was
exactly.
called something different.
So everybody else in Legend got their attacks knocked down a notch, but then Catwoman and Cheetah still had their their previous damage values to their
Yeah,
to their weapon, and so they were doing they were doing an insane amount of damage, and I reported that, and they never really acknowledged it. And then I remember about a month after I said, you know what, I need to take a break. I'm just burned out. I can't do this anymore. And I remember about a month after that, Blanket sent me a screenshot of the forums, and he's like, "Look what they're fixing," and it was a patch note for saying Cheetah and Catwoman's feline whatever will now do proper damage or whatever. And I was like, it's a little late, but at least they fixed it.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
because I'm going like I'm remembering back to a time where every single month it wasn't a time capsule. Every single month we got like a new Legends character,
oh god, yeah,
and
yeah,
then it
yeah.
was like Steel came out, and then it was No, it wasn't John Stewart. It was the other guy, Strafing Run.
Oh, Hal Jordan.
Hal Jordan came out.
Yeah, because
And it's just like one after the other.
yeah, they were releasing them out, and I would absolutely love for them to do to do new legends based off like the Earth 3 characters,
Yeah,
even uh, Poison Ivy, Ra's al Ghul,
yeah,
any
because we got
any of
like
those things.
the TV version of Supergirl and the other stuff, but they're just like clones. Like nothing
Yeah,
really changed.
exactly.
And
I mean,
like
oh, I'm sorry.
no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that I would even love. I mean, it would make me happy even if they even just did Legends skins. Dude, I don't even play Robin in Legends. Like, I don't like staff in PvP, but if they released a Damien Robin skin, I would buy
Yeah,
it. I would buy it just as out of support. If it was like a $5 Legend skin, because it technically isn't a new character. If they just did a reskin of Robin, and it was just kind of like the whole Batman has multiple skins, and they just did a Damien's skin, I'd buy that just to have it. I'd
except
buy.
those ones are all $10 because they changed like one or two powers, and then it's
Well,
like OG Batman, Future Batman, Modern Batman.
yeah, but I think honestly, I mean, they had that Mets was saying, they don't have a really good way of monetizing PvP, and that was one thing I thought we could talk about as well because I kind of came up with some ideas that would help maybe towards monetizing PvP, and I was gonna bounce them off
Yeah,
of you
no,
and
for
see
sure,
what
because
you thought.
that would be that's going to be a definitely question mark because it's like the way they're going to look at it is okay. We're going to like because that's what Mep said in that thread. Like if we're going to devote this much time and effort to PvP and basically skip a DLC cycle because we're going to have a few months of everyone coding and working on this, like what's going to be the trade-off? Like what can I tell the boardroom basically? Okay, we need to do this because it's going to lead to this.
Yeah. Well, um, my biggest thing, well, not my biggest thing, but my first thing that I would do if I was them, which this is going to sound weird and probably not a lot of people are going to like this idea, I would get rid of the fact that members can buy legends with marks of legend. Like I never understood. Like they always complained that PvP didn't make money, but then they turned around and they went and they said, you know what? If you're a member, screw it. Here you can buy all these legends that cost $10 a piece for 100 marks of legends, and I can't tell you how much money they just lost off of me alone when they did that. Because when they did that,
Yeah,
I was on a small break from the game, and when I came back, they had made that change. I mean, I left the game with 250 marks of legend on my character capped out, and they did that. I came back and they had introduced like Kyle Rayner, Guy Gardner, and a few other ones. I mean, they literally, had they not done that, I would have dropped $20 on the spot right then when I came back for both those legends because those legends are $10 a piece, and
yeah,
and I didn't have to. And then when I went to the EU server, a few years back, and I played PvP there, I I actually have a character on EU that has every single legend in the game unlocked on that character, and it's because I literally just legend PvP that I did arenas with Clutch and Venge and Talv and all of them, and we did so much PvP that I literally earned every single legend in the game for free. Well, I mean, well, technically, $15 a month, but still, I
yeah,
mean, there was a lot of money they lost off of me that had I ever had to buy those characters. I mean, yes, I would only had to bought them once because I can claim them on any character on my account. Still, though, I would have had to bought them at one point in time, and I mean that was at least $100 just from me.
yeah. And even when the Legends characters were coming out on the marketplace, they were just like the auras or those like gold materials and stuff. Plenty of people were buying steel or Hal Jordan. Plenty of people were buying the Legend characters when they were 900, marketplace off the broker, not the broker, the marketplace.
Yeah,
So like they had to make at least some money from that. Like not enough compared to replays, but enough
exactly.
people were buying the Legend characters.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, and obviously it's a different. I mean, I'm not a programmer. I will admit that up front. I don't have any idea how coding works, so I'm just talking from an ignorant standpoint when it comes to that. But I can, I mean, and I realize that when there's an NPC that's coded to do something that does the same thing every time you interact with it, is way different than when you're actually controlling it with your own fingers and hand, fingers and everything. You're making it
Yeah,
do other
and
things,
having control.
but they at least already have the character model there. So I mean, we know how
Yeah, I
many.
don't know. I don't know what about that because we were supposed to get a Gorilla God.
Oh
I've heard
man,
rumors from a few different people that it came down to licensing. Because if you're gonna like sell like Gorilla Grodd, like obviously there's goes more into that licensing wise because you're selling his image, his voice, his likeness. It's not like you're making up some character.
yeah, but
So
then
maybe they just lost the permission to sell it because there's no reason why they wouldn't. Because like you said, all these character models for like at least 6 or 7 different Legends characters are in the game already. They would just have to build like a power base on it, and it's not like a lot of effort went into that anyway. Because like what 6 or 7 Legends characters have like the exact same movement base, and they're all flight, they're all brawling, they
yeah,
all have heat vision.
and I mean, like think of like the markability of say if they were still making legend characters whenever they released Earth 3. Could you imagine if they released Ultraman, Owlman, Johnny Quick, and Superwoman
Yeah.
into Legends as well? I mean, that's like another, and they were $10 a piece, and you couldn't get them for free if you were a membership. I mean, that's literally $40 right there. Because I would have bought every single one of them. because
Oh
I'm
yeah, for sure.
because I mean it would
Because
just been fun
especially
to have.
obviously there'd still be some kind of feats attached to it.
Yeah,
Not just Legends PvE, but like actual PvP itself is to have the character,
yeah,
or making it like even if they introduced like not every single one to the marketplace, but they introduced like some to the vendor and made them like 250 marks of Legends or something like that. People would still have to go back into Legends and start PvPing again to earn the marks to get those characters. So you're breathing a bit more life into that side of the game.
I agree. I agree definitely.
Yeah,
Um,
because at the like full well because you were there. Like they did have a push at some point to try to get Legends into esports, like
yeah,
not maybe official esports, but they still considered Legends like a comparable event.
yeah. No, I know. I'm. There's no doubt that me and you have a negative past with Ian Sanderson, but
Yeah,
but I mean, there was a time when we all got along, and I do have to say that I think he really wanted to make Legends PvP a legit you know esports thing. I mean, that's why they did
yeah,
that's why they did Jesus, what was it? SOE Live.
yeah. Sweet Live was
What
it two?
three
Was
years?
it 2 or 3 years?
It
I
was
think it was
three
3.
years. It was 3 years because the first year I didn't go.
Yeah,
Second year I went with Jason Todd and
yeah.
came
I
in
think it was like
second.
yeah, it was like 2013, 14, and 15,
Yep.
or is it?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what it was.
yeah. It wasn't one in 2012.
Yeah, I went in 2014, and he went
Yeah,
and then Clutch went back again in 2015. Yeah,
yeah, because
that's what
that's
it
when they
was.
held the EU tournament on the EU side. Then he won that, and then they flew him to the Vegas to be whatever to hang out.
Yeah, yeah. That was in 2014. That was in
Yeah,
2014. Yeah,
that was almost last year.
yeah. But yeah, I
But
mean, it
even then,
was.
like as much as we can fault Jens for other stuff, like he was a PvPer. Like not not like skillful wise, but like he enjoyed it. Like he PvP plenty of times with us and family. Like he was always PvPing himself before Friday Night Legends on his private stream.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it's as much as we fault him, at least like he was playing it. Like
This is true. This is very true. Um,
it's
I,
not like we're gonna see Nerd to Prey hop on and start PvPing or anything to do with the game.
I've been told that she plays on a secret character. I don't have any idea. I don't know. I mean, I actually really don't have too big of an issue with Nerd of Prey. She's actually never she's never struck me as someone that's like negative for the game, I guess. But
No,
it did,
she's focused entirely on like because Jens was about the actual direction of the game. Like Jens introduced replay badges, weapon mastery, advanced mechanics, took away rock paper scissors, movement debuffs. Like he had a lot of dumb stuff, but it was all like game. breaking game driving stuff. Nerd of Prey is all like time capsules, styles, booster bundles. Like that's what her thing. Her thing is all like the looks of the game, not like how the game performs or plays out.
Is that her or the new guy? Like, cause I can't remember his name, the Jack guy. Cause like, I thought that I kind of felt like the game went in that direction when he got in charge, but I don't really know enough
It could
about him.
be um, like I think it leads more to like AVR because he's like the lead system designer now.
I got you. Would be honest though, I really didn't. We don't want to sit here and bash on the
No,
developers.
no,
Really,
yeah,
that's going
for
to turn
sure.
some people off of the video right
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, no,
No,
I mean,
past is the past.
yeah, it's whatever. But I mean, I think another step when if we want to get back to PvP and talking about it and stuff, I think another good step for PvP, this is just an idea, would be kind of take a unification of it. No more Marks of Valor and Marks of Legend. Just make it Marks of Valor or whatever they want to name it, and make it across the board for PvP. That way, you know, it takes less. I guess you want to say space in the game where they have to worry about, this costs a certain marks and this costs a
Yeah,
certain
different
marks for
conversion stuff.
PvP, and you can just that way if you, I mean, because you already get Marks of Valor when you do Legends anyway. So I mean, it's like
Yeah,
it,
which
it,
I was never a fan of, but
this is true. I
story
remember
for another
that. I remember
day.
that. Yeah, you
Well,
always
for me,
wanted
like
it to
we
separate.
know, like when PvP season 2 came out, no one was in arenas. They were all doing 2v2 Legends layers, and the matches would last like 30 seconds and get a full gear set in a day.
Yeah, that's just a fault in the system. You want to say like the
Yeah.
map design and everything.
So like I'm fine with like one centralized mark, but it's easy enough to say like if you win a Legends map, it's worth 5 marks. If you win an arenas match, it's worth 30 marks. Like because I understand like the time investment for arenas is going to be a lot more than Legends, so like it needs to be reflected on the marks. But you
I,
shouldn't be able to like if you want to buy an arena set, you should still have to do arenas. You shouldn't just be able to go into Legends the entire time.
well,
That's always been my philosophy.
that's a good outlook on it too. I mean, I can't really argue with that too much. I do actually like the idea of what you just said because I hadn't thought about that. Like if you do Legends, you get a certain amount of marks from it, and if you do Arena, you get more.
Yeah, because we know how many marks like what marks of allegiance, what marks of conquest, those green ones, influence, marks of valor. Like there's been so many PvP marks where like that's all been like unnecessary.
Yeah, it was a lot, and if you get rid of the whole having legend characters be bought with marks, then you don't have to worry about that anymore. It's just
Yeah,
legend character or gear
yeah.
pretty much.
Make it just like the OP items. The OP items are the vendor collections cost like 350 marks or whatever, which is like 35 raid resets. Make the legends characters some like huge amount as well, so people have to like invest a lot of time into legends to unlock those characters. If you're not going to put like you can certainly put some on the marketplace, but like you should be able to still put some in game just to give people something to play for.
That's true. Like each every now and then put out two new characters or whatever, and one
Yeah,
goes into the marketplace, one goes.
make them cost like 1,000 marks or 500 marks or something like that. So when PvPers are playing, they could say, okay, I earned this. I earned this legend character. No, if I'm going to go into legends and not really see anyone else as this character because I actually earned this.
True, but they still would have to make sure the character's balanced. They can't just make it
Yeah. Oh yeah, they
overpower.
can't make
They
them.
can't
Yeah.
make it ridiculous just because you.
Can't make them a steal or can't make them like an unlimited strafing run that comes out like
Yeah,
5 seconds and stuns you and puts a dot on you.
yeah. I think also another thing that they should do is uh I was kind of a little bit. I couldn't believe I did this whenever I came back because I didn't realize artifacts and augments worked in PvP. When I came back, and I was like, wait, they went through all that trouble to separate PvP and PvE, and now you're telling me that the artifacts and the augments work in PvP? I was like, oh
Yeah, that was a gray area. No
man,
one like we people asked them on the forums and like they just kind of dodged those questions because it's like, I
yeah,
guess we'll find out.
yeah, like I
The
just
stat capping was always like a thing.
yeah, I feel like they should just you know disallow the PvE artifacts and augments so it just stays all PvP pure, but in the same time to give PvP players something to grind for. Introduce PvP only artifacts and augments that can be leveled
Yep.
up via a new PvP based material, like you could have PvP Exo material and PvP Nth metal. Like, obviously not the same name because that would be very confusing, but, come out with a new kind of metal or a kind of
Yeah,
material.
same thing. Every
Yeah.
every time you kill a player, it drops nth metal, stuff like that,
Yeah, or either,
or something like
yeah.
along those lines.
But I definitely think also the cap, like the higher cap on those artifacts and augments should be similar to like the Kryptonian Cola and the cybernetic augments. I don't think you should have to go to like 650,000 XP before you get to the
No,
to get
yeah,
to the top because that's a
it would have to
lot of
be.
PvP. And
Yeah, it'd have to be properly scaled because obviously you're not killing like NPCs. It's all players.
I also think that the PvP material, if they were to do something like that, should drop from uh, the PvP materials and stuff that you get, you should be able to sell in the broker just like you can the PvE, like the
Yeah,
PvP exo material,
because like
because then that gives PvP an option to PvPers an option to make money and also put back into the economy as well.
for sure, because like you played other MMOs, like I'm sure there's styles. Well, I know in WoW there's one, just from seeing them, but like PvP only styles. Like we have the same thing styles, but like when someone sees like, oh, how'd you get that gear piece or how'd you get that style? It's like, well, I got 500 layer wins or something, or 500 arena wins, or like there's got to be nice styles that not just the vendor mark styles, but like styles you can earn in doing arenas. So it gives people more incentives as like, hey, where'd you like you said, where'd you get that cool material? It's like, well, you got to do arenas.
Yeah. I continuing on from that point, I definitely think they should lower the cost of all gear too. Weapons, the trinkets, if they were put out
Yeah,
artifacts and augments, they don't need to be 5,000 marks. Like, okay, maybe for the highest, newest gear. Okay, I got you. I understand. But there definitely needs to be a
no,
significant
because I'm
reduction.
trying to remember in season two, Sparta and I we did like 120, 132s matches, something like that, and we got a full set.
Yeah.
Now it's way more than that. It's
Oh,
like you got to do like 300 wins or something like that for a full set.
it's I think it's more than that. I did the math one
Yeah, I
time.
wouldn't doubt it.
I
Yeah,
did the math one time for MEPS and posted it on the forums, and it was an ungodly amount of time. It was
like it's a huge investment, and like
yeah.
to me, like I don't know, you can chime in this as well, but I liked in the past where it wasn't one universal set. Like if you were a PvP healer, you had a set. If you were a tank, a troller, like it wasn't just like one set fits all.
I'm gonna be
Because
honest
it
with you.
gave
I'm sorry. I'm just
No,
go
I
ahead,
was going to
finish
say
it
like
up.
it gives to me it gives more incentive to do those other roles because like us in the past, well, like you were power troll always, but like me specifically, I'm wearing DPS gear and controller role. If I was going to be a power troll, I'd be wearing like controller gear, battle tanks, like a tank wearing DPS gear or a tank wearing tank gear. So it's like I'd like to see the differences rather than like a one set fits all.
I um I will be honest. Whenever it came out, whenever the idea of it came out and they released it, I liked it. I thought it was neat. I thought it was a nice streamlined way of going. But at the time, we had mods to make a difference in how we wanted to
Yeah.
mod our gear and which changed the actual gear in a sense. Now we don't have mods anymore. Now I completely agree. I think we should have, a healer set, a troller set, a DPS set, and a tank set. And
Yeah.
with that change, I do think they should bring back rock paper scissors. I
Oh,
I
that would
com-
have to come back.
I
Yeah.
completely want to see rock paper scissors back in the game. It's been gone a long time,
It's
but
gone long enough that most players don't even really remember it. So at
that's
that,
true.
yeah, it's like you're introducing something new to the game. Where, like, honestly, it was one of the best systems we had. It was like a tank beats a controller, controller beats a healer, healer beats a tank, and DPS kind of beat them all.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it's
DPS had like a slight upper hand to them all and everything, but obviously being a DPS going against a tank was, whew, that was fun. That was a long
yeah,
fight, but but yeah, to expand on what you just said for those who don't understand what rock paper scissors was back in the day, when the first 2.5 maybe 3 years of the game in PvP, as Chill just said, whenever you had a healer, they would get a buff of, like, they would do more damage to a tank if they fought them. Um, and a tank would get a buff and do more damage to a troller if they fought them, and a troller would get a buff and do more damage to a healer when they engaged in combat with them. and it was a really neat system. It allowed for some really unique makeups in arena groups when it came to 4v4 and 5v5 and higher. Pretty much just 5v5 because PC didn't really do anything higher than that. I don't think PS ever did really too much.
Nah,
But
fives are pretty popular on PC and PS.
yeah,
Like
so
people did fours, but it was fives. It was like the go-to thing.
yeah, but it did offer the opportunity to make some very wonky setups. Like sometimes you'd have, two tanks with a healer and two trollers. Or some craziness like that, or something like, or a troller and a DPS, two tanks and a healer, or something. You would see some of the craziest setups because people would try to outwit the other team essentially, and it was good.
It worked flawlessly. Like I didn't hear there was not a single complaint that I can remember saying like, "Oh, this is dumb" or something like. And to expand on what Bryce was saying, in addition to your buff, you had specific counter effects to that role. So say if you were a healer going against a tank, you could strip their shields, and
Oh yeah, that's right.
if you were a tank going against a controller, you'd wipe the group's pot. So it wasn't like you did anything. As long as you if you hit the troll, you would wipe his pot. Sorry, I think I said pot from the group, but it's his pot. So that means the troller is not getting any power back from his power over time
And you
because the
have to
tank's hitting him.
and you have to recast it. Yeah, so
Yeah,
it's essentially making them waste power. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I forgot about that part too. Yeah, there was a lot of neat little things with rock paper scissors,
yeah.
and the where it started to get really messy was when I can't remember the developer's name, but whenever that developer decided that they thought that DPS should have an opportunity to combat another role, and they gave out a movement mode
That was the
buffs.
ends.
Was that Jens? I didn't
Yeah,
I
that
didn't
was
agree with
Jens's idea.
I didn't
Yeah,
agree with that
he
change.
introduced the movement debuffs, and then there was such backlash over it that it
Yeah.
was gone. What was it, like 2 months, something like that? They took it away,
No, no, no. It was around, I think, until they got rid of the rock paper scissors.
or was it?
Yeah, I think it was. I have not.
I know they clawed it back. Like maybe the time frame is not sinking in, but I know they clawed it back because like it was universally hated because it was just like you had like ice tank or ice DPS because they had the shields in DPS stance. Oh, they would put like three movement mode debuffs on their bar, and then go into like layers, and it's like how are you supposed to beat them? They're gonna like triple debuff you. It's like they're throwing a debuff grenade at you.
Oh God, those things too. That was a horrible design as well. Let's never have those again.
Debuff grenades and zesty cola party packs.
Oh man, I was glad when those went away. Um, but yeah, no. I do think the rock paper scissors would be a good thing for the game. And
Yeah, because it gave you a sense of like accomplishment too. Because it's like if you were a healer and beat like a controller, you're like, oh, like I just beat this controller. Like you feel good about yourself because the controller is already in an advantage over you, and you're beating him.
yeah, Whew. Yeah,
And which
good
will
times.
be big for all the PS players. I know they're gonna jump on that.
I when we're
But yeah,
talking,
it was a system that no one asked for it to be taken away, and then it was taken away, and it's just like why?
yeah, yeah. I think something else that came about back in the day that was really I think that still to this day is a highly debated topic is the immunity, and
Yeah,
I personally think that the new immunity we have now, I believe it is 1.5 seconds, um, is fine in PvE. Whatever, 1.5 seconds. I understand the damage got lowered, so you didn't want to leave them with 2.75 seconds of immunity where they couldn't be damaged or
yeah,
controlled.
you didn't really notice it in PvE unless it was survival mode. Like survival mode, you could tell by getting a counter, and you're like, okay, I can survive for like his next attack or like a second or two. Like you could survive with a blue in survival mode. In
Yeah,
raids, didn't really matter.
yeah.
It
Well,
wasn't gonna like save your life.
I personally think that now, with the damage as low as it is in PvP, I'm actually fine with immunity as far as the damage immunity goes, as at being at 1.5 seconds. Hell, they could take it away completely because at this point it prevents such little damage that you get like you stop like one little bit of damage and then you're taking damage again. But the counterpart, I think immunity should be back at 2.75 seconds as far as counters go. Um, because the problem is at 1.5 seconds, you can't punish somebody like you can't block break them and then get off a decent attack because like say you're in a 2v2 situation or higher, you can hang up any thought of doing like an AoE attack because by the time you do a 2 tap or 3 tap hold with anything that's going to do an AoE attack, you're already your immunity window's gone and you're going to get punished.
Yeah.
And so I feel like the damage part of immunity can finally go into the past. It ain't got to be around anymore. They can get rid of it. And but they should just call it counter immunity and make that 2.75 seconds. Like if they did that, I would actually be completely fine with how immunity's set up. Like we don't need the damage immunity anymore because
No,
people.
like it's yeah, like you said, honestly, it's a bit better now because like there's been so many renditions of immunity. Like we started off like in the OG days, it was just like a hard stun, like a knockdown. So it's just like, oh, he countered me, and now I'm, that hard stun animation where you're like swaying from side to side, and you got to break out of it.
Yeah,
And then with the toughness weapons, like the weapons that ignore toughness for the DPS. Then it
yeah,
became your counter was based on precision. So the more precision you had, the more damage you did on your counter.
that was
So you could like
ridiculous.
you could kill someone just by like turtling because every time like you'd hit your block, you'd take like 800 damage just from your precision.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. Like,
Then like the Buu immunity came out and like people were gods. Like if you got an immunity, like you could like not even be touched for like a few seconds.
yeah,
Like the damage absorption on those blues was crazy.
it was 100%. It was
Yeah,
100% damage immunity and counter immunity for 2.75 seconds, which was, I mean, it was ridiculous. Like
yeah.
it was quite
Like I
crazy.
remember going against like Venge and Akuro in twos and legends,
It's like you'll
and
never
just
even
like
scratch them.
you don't even touch their health because like they just have the counters the entire time, so it's just like you're not even damaging them, which is
Yeah,
like, oh my god. So it played to a style where like it wasn't about PvP. It was like, okay, get a counter. Okay, now I can attack. Like it's like you're playing for a counter, not playing for anything else.
yeah.
It's
Well,
like whoever gets the first counter like wins basically.
well, I mean, I don't mind that kind of play style because
Yeah, no, I can appreciate that as well.
essentially that's what the combat system of PvP in DC is.
Yeah,
Like it comes down to countering the other person and then maximizing your damage. But it is a little lopsided whenever you get a counter, so you damage them for countering them. Then you also get 2.75 seconds to do a good amount of damage to them, and while you're also doing it, you don't get hurt at all. Like your health doesn't
yeah,
move. So it's like, yeah,
and especially with DC, it doesn't really have a good like lag compensation. So if you're playing against like on a EU server or playing against a guy that's on the EU server or like that's lagging, the pings are all over the place. So you can't line up your counter windows. You got immunities at random times, so it's just like putting such a high emphasis on not so much now, but in the past with immunity was like if you're playing against a player that like didn't have a good ping or you had a really good ping, he'd just tap block for a second and instantly get block broken because on the other person's screen it's like he blocked for 5 seconds.
yeah, yeah. So
Like there wasn't much forgiveness.
yeah, I'm
Yeah, that's
completely.
why personally I liked it like during our days, like season two, season one, season two. Like you could still get counters, like we still had the people running hand blasters for the AoE block breakers in fives,
Yeah,
but it was like half and half. It was like 50% counters and like 50% like power set skill. But like back in R5s, like even during the FNL days, like if you were bad DPS, like you did no damage. It wasn't like if you're really good at counters, you didn't do like really well as well. Like nowadays, like season three was especially like that with the weapon mastery, where it's like
oh God.
all you have to do is get counters, and it's like the person's just gonna keep dying. But, like I understand like there needs to be a balance, but like in the beginning it was way too tipped towards like power, and then season three to now it's like way more. The scales are tipped towards counters, and like doesn't matter what your power is. So I don't know. That's good. It's the hardest thing to find like a happy medium for.
Yeah, I agree with that. Um, we're kind of just hoping anyway, right? That we're gonna
Yeah.
see
Oh
any
yeah.
kind of these changes anytime soon. But I mean, it'd be a nice thing to see. But it's definitely not something that has to happen, but it would definitely be something that I would love to see addressed. In like a simple balance pass. Like obviously they can't go through and just redo every single power in the game
For
for
sure, yeah.
arenas, but like if we're
Which they
talking,
won't do.
yeah, if we're talking about a mass like just balance pass, like in essentially a simple one, I would love to see the immunity thing get added in there, where it's like okay, two
Yeah,
point.
because that's the thing. Like same thing. I don't understand coding as well. Like I have no idea why they can't code something separately. Okay, this because they have like the trinkets in your gear doesn't work in PvP. That if
Yeah,
it's PvE gear, so why can't they code like abilities where like pyrokinesis or like photon blast or something works this way in PvE and in PvP it works this way. Like you just
yeah,
have separate coding for it. But like I said, it's going to be a lot easier to balance legends because that's more of just like a weapon pass because there's not too many crazy abilities wise.
yeah,
Like most of them being reined in.
yeah. Really, the only thing I can think off the top of my head, power wise, that's an issue in Legends is the construct combos, like
Yeah, which work off the
Kyle Rayner's pencil, John Stewart's bat, that kind of stuff. It's not doing a it's not doing Batman Robin block breaker kind of stupid damage, but it is still
yeah.
hitting harder than it really should. And
Because that's one of the examples of that they have to be coded differently. You can't have like rage and light and atomic just like wailing on you with combos that are should be blockable and are blockable, but they're not blockable because they made that change.
Oh yeah, no, that's a whole different. Yeah, I was just talking
So
about
it's
the
like,
actual. I was just talking about the actual damage that Kyle Rayner and
oh
John
yeah, yeah,
Stewart's bat does. Like their stuff is still blockable in Legends. Like the second swing is still blockable and whatnot, but it's still it's the amount of damage it does should be just lowered a little bit. But
yeah.
yeah, as far as you're talking like arenas, when it comes to like rage and hard light and whatever, and it comes to their ability to spam construct combos because they aren't blockable, yeah, that definitely should be different in
That's one of those things that
arenas.
have to be coded separately.
Yeah, that should be
You can't have that.
blockable and everything. Like I'm
'Cause that
I'm
just
t-
like ignores every single rule.
yeah, like I'm totally fine with them getting rid of the ability of like say saying that some of the hard light construct combos or rage combos can block break you. I'm fine with them leaving that out. Like I feel like block breaking should only come from your weapon. Like
Yeah.
it shouldn't come from some.
No, that was a silly same thing during AMs where like was nature, light had one. There's a few other like powers that block break.
Yeah, like that the power shouldn't be able to block break, but but they should be blockable. So you can't just sit there and spam on somebody to your
Yeah.
heart's desire until they die. I mean, that's just a little silly.
Yeah, because like what you're forced to block or you're gonna eat the damage, but then you block and he's just gonna counter you and then go back to doing it. So it's like
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, and so yeah,
And I guess on that point, because I don't think I've really asked you this question, but what's your opinion on the like the 3 tap block, 5 tap, like that change?
back when we asked for it to be changed like that, because I'm not going to hide from the fact that it was PC players essentially for the most part that asked for that change. Some of us, not all of us. I was one that went along with it. Um, but that let me just answer your question. I would not be objective to going back to 3 tap at this point in time. Like 3 tap um, over the 5 tap would not bother me. Like but at the time when we agreed to it, it was the lesser of two evils essentially,
Yeah,
because they were going to take our AOE block breaking away, and the problem it came in to be was if you didn't have an AOE block break and taps did AOE damage, you could just have people screen blocking left and right all day, and you would just get block. You would run into a block over and over again because you couldn't rely on your teammates to essentially clear
yeah.
the blocking players out of your way. And
Yeah, I remember at server merge that was a huge thing because like to PC players like an us doing competitive fives in the past, hand blasters and AoE block breakers was just commonplace. Like
oh
that's
yeah,
you always had them, no concerns. It was like mad, like mutually shared destruction. Like people always had them. Then with server merge coming, the PS players are coming out of the woodwork, like screaming at hand blasters and how cheap they are with those AoE block breakers. So I guess like I know most of the PS players were all like one-handed spin chopping and stuff, or flip slashing in the days. Like they didn't use like I've talked to PvP players on both sides since the server merge and stuff, but I know like our meta, like what PC players are used to in fives is martial arts, syncing up your smoke bombs with your trinkets, so you're doing your burst damage that way. Where on the PS side, like it was mostly like one-handed spike damage. PS players had like the ghosting from mental, dogging from Sork, which never we never saw on PC because that
Well, it wouldn't have worked on it didn't work for that particular technique wouldn't work on PC because they used it to
they
essentially
used it to lag, yeah, basically lag out the
to
other
lag
player.
out the other player and stuff, which I mean, yeah, it seems a little cheesy. Actually, it is cheesy,
Back then,
but
yeah, back
but
then it was for them.
but I mean, at the same time, it's like it's like dang, it's like just fix the game in that one aspect for them for the PS guys, so that isn't a
Yeah,
possibility, and and whatnot. But but I guess they eventually did fix it because I don't. I guess that tactic went away or whatnot. But yeah,
yeah, and I guess the five tap was partially put in to give more depth to the weapon mastery combos too, because there's not really any weapon mastery combos you're going to do in three taps or like three tap hold. There's not too many weapon mastery combos that are three tap hold,
yeah,
so it gives they're trying to bring like more variety.
yeah. I mean, I guess at this point it's been God, what, 2.5 years, going on 3 years or whatever that the five tap's been in the game. So I mean, it's the whole idea of like rock paper scissors. There's a slew of players out there that would have no idea what's going on
Yeah,
whenever it comes to the three tap and the five tap. They'd be like, why is the taps different?
yeah, and they probably couldn't code that separately because that's like game foundation wise.
Oh no,
Because
it
if
is
they
already
changed,
separate. It is already separate.
it,
Like
it is.
yeah, if you do three taps into a block in PvE, you will get knocked down. If you do three taps into a block on PvP, you will not get knocked down. It is actually
Oh,
separate.
okay, so
It
it is
is
coded
actually.
separately.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is.
yeah. So that's they can still do that.
Yeah. So they have shown that they can code certain things independently, but it's just obviously certain things, I guess.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, it's not. Well, I guess the way we look at it, it's not really rocket science to balance what PvP is, or to at least bring it back to what it once was. But at the same time, I can understand that there's like maybe two devs that are left from that era, so it is new to them because they have no idea what we're talking about because they weren't around for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So to them, it's like a brand new game, learning how to the decode and do the like Tunzo's combat system.
Yeah. Tunso. Forgot about that guy. Um, but uh,
Yeah,
but yeah. But we kind of jumped around for a minute there. Well, for quite a while we jumped around there because we started off with the whole talking about the legends and how to make money for PvP. I actually did have a PvP season idea that I was going to throw your way that I'd just like to hear your feedback on. I I came up with the idea of having a PvP season every 4 months, which might be a little bit ambitious. I can't think of the word for
ambitious.
ambitious. Thank you, ambitious. But so it might would have to be like every 6 months because I know they're not going to invest a lot of time in it. But if they had a PvP season, like say every 6 months, um, they could do a new set of gear uh, based on a new playable legend that they could release with that season, along with a small feat list linked to that season in your feats tab. And the feats in it could be something as simple as, like, say, a style feat, win 5, 10, or 25 games while using the new legends. Or
Yeah,
and then they could have KO the new legend 5, 10, or 25 times,
yeah,
and
certain
and,
kill feats and stuff like that. Yeah,
and
it's
also
easy enough to think of those.
this is where they could introduce a new artifact to PvP and a new augment, so they could have fortified this augment or artifact to levels 5, 10, 25, whatever the levels are, and you could charge $5 to access this PvP season, or if you're a member, it comes included.
Yeah,
And $5, and if you buy the season of PvP, it always allows you access to those feats that's tied to that season and whatnot. And and you could go that route to make some money. Um, Obviously, there's the issue to work out about how PvP gear works, because you can't go to the next set of PvP gear unless you have the previous set of PvP gear. So you hate to for someone to start the game, you know, 2 years down the road and be 4 PvP seasons behind, but love
Yeah,
PvP.
I don't
PvP,
know if I necessarily like that progression system because it gets a bit intimidating. Like if you see someone like 101 set and then you have to start at 98, go through like what is it like 300 matches of 98, then like 400 for 99,
oh,
then like
it's a
another
lot.
500 for 100. So it's like okay, I got to PvP 1,000 times just so I can start to earning marks to get to the new set. So
Yeah,
it's like at the time it's just I don't know if I necessarily care about having that. Like, okay, you can't get 100 gear until you get a full 99 set and etc.
yeah.
I didn't think that was really that necessary.
Well, so there's obviously going to have to be, if they did something like that a PvP season, they'd have to figure out a thing for the gear, because obviously every
Yeah.
time a new PvP season comes out, you want the next set of gear to be just a little bit better. It ain't got to be ridiculously better, but
No,
a
and
little bit
even
better is a little bit better.
even the PvP sets there wasn't giant jumps in them. Like from Vengeance to or no from Avatar Bombardier to Vengeance, there wasn't like a night and day difference. It was like 20 here, 40 there. Like
Yeah, I mean it helps. It adds up over time.
yeah,
Yes, there's no doubt, but it wasn't like the fight was completely hopeless if you had the
yeah.
lower set of gear. But you
No, because
definitely,
you can have because it's a whole like I know on the PS side that's like what's his big YouTuber. Um, Someone's gonna mention him in the comments. That Rage guy.
Rage guy. I'm not sure.
I don't know, but he's always under the impression that you should have like the best geared player should always win. So it's like if he goes into PvP, no matter how good he is, if he's got the best gear, he can never lose.
Oh no, screw that. It's
Yeah,
PvP is supposed to be based off of skill.
and
It's
that's the
not.
thing. Like that's the whole thing. And so it's like if you're a bad player with like okay gear. No, sorry. If you're a good player with okay gear, you can still beat someone that's better because your counters are and stuff in your own points can be better. So
Yeah,
it's like they still need to not have stats completely outweigh the equation.
yeah, I agree. I also think that with the PvP season, they should do it just like they do with the DLCs. Um, every time they release a new PvP season, every now and then, especially if it's 6 months. So say like the first month they release it, they have a double marks weekend, because that'll obviously help the players who are just starting out get the older gear quicker. Even if they figure out a way to go about the whole gear progression
Yeah,
thing, those new players are still going to want the styles and stuff for the old stuff for the feats. And it also
it
allows
was
up to date
it
players
was
to get the newest
Ventus
ones.
SGN. That's who I can think of.
Ventus. Oh, Ventus. Oh, I got you. I got you. Does he still even play?
I don't think so. I think he comes back every now and then.
I got you. And my last thing that I have for the PvP seasons was, I actually think they should bring back reward boxes similar to those in 2013, but
Yeah,
instead of being weekly lockouts, I think they should be daily lockouts, and they should be for every map. Like arenas, you know, all the arena maps, if you win it the first time of the day, you get a box for it. And then the same thing for Legends. If you win the Legends, you get a box for it. And the box could include extra PvP marks, PvP nth metal, PvP caches, PvP exo material, and even the rare drops from it could be just like in 2013, where it could be pieces of gear that are equivalent to your PvP CR, or whatever. But obviously, if they changed the way PvP gear works, then that last one wouldn't affect, but wouldn't matter too much. But I mean, you at least get a piece of gear, and it would save you like a couple, 100 marks or 1,000 marks, depending on where you are. And I think also these boxes should be able to be reset for 12 replay badges, just like they were in
yeah,
2013. So they're not necessary. Like, you don't have to reset, because you'll still, if you do a match and you win, you still get your normal amount of marks, just like you did back then. But if you reset, you get the bonus of an extra box, which could actually have extra marks, which could speed
yeah.
up
It
your
could have that
progression.
extra marks or that nth metal for the artifact.
Yeah, it just simply speeds up your progression, just like it does in PvE,
Yeah,
and
just like resetting a daily mission.
it gives PvP a manner in which they can generate revenue. And it would also give something else for you
Yeah,
for you to grind for. I mean, because if you look at saying that, if they released a new artifact they released, uh, let's just say, they do augments just like they did PvE augments. Say when they decided to do PvP augments, if they did, they would give you four PvP augments just, free. Here they are. You finished a journal mission, you got four PvP augments, and then they'd give you each PvP season. They give you two special augments that go with that PvP season and that theme that's based on the playable legend that they released. And that particular two augments would give you balanced slight PvP advantages if you maxed it out, kind of deal. You know what I mean? So it'd be like
yeah,
you'd have to spend marks on those two augments. You'd have to spend marks on the gear. You have to spend marks on the new utility belt. You have to spend marks on the trinket. I mean, and if they brought back multiple sets, and you'd have to spend marks on getting two sets instead of one if you really wanted, like, you wanted that whole option of, I'm going to be a DPS troller this game, but next game I need to be a power troller. So you have two so you end up having two different
armories basically.
armories and two different whole sets of gear and everything. Yeah, so yeah. But yeah, I think that would be awesome. That would be wonderful. I wish they would do stuff like that if that was the case. And then, like I said, that gives them another venue to monetize PvP. And we're not and we don't need a balance adjustment every single every single PvP season, because if they do a balance pass and they get it, within reason, nothing should change. I
No,
mean,
because
you
people get more gear, the healing goes up, people's toughness goes up, health goes
exactly,
up. Like it all balances itself.
exactly. So it's just like, I just wish they could just, spend one good solid month and just, fix the. I honestly, I think as far as legend goes, they could spend a week and fix legends, like 1 week, and just take the right kind of feedback with legends, and it would be fixed. Like legends actually would be just fine. Like people could play legends, and of course, people are always going to complain that there's something broken. This is broken. That's broken. They're always going to say something's a little bit stronger than something else because
Yeah, and
that's just how people are.
I
But
do agree with Maps when he said that, where it's like the community, it's like the community's fault. The PvP is community fault because like we can't decide what we want.
I
Every
actually,
everyone's got like a different opinion on it. Everyone's saying like if you present them with something that makes sense, they're like, oh no, that just makes sense.
I
Like we're just
actually,
bickering with each other.
I actually,
Good.
I spoke. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to keep interrupting you
No,
there,
no.
man. No, I was gonna say I spoke to quite a few of the PvP friends, um, that kind of play, some that do play, and everything, and most of them were actually upset. They're like, how could MEP say that? I have to say, and I doubt Meps is going to listen to this, but I completely agree with Meps. There has always been so much nonstop bickering among people in PvP. It is ridiculous the amount of, like, can we just have a civil conversation? But most people just get so irate about it and so passionate that it turns into this nasty argument, and I can see how that is completely off-putting to developers. Like Meps, even
Yeah,
like, who's like, I don't even want to have to try to figure out how I'm supposed to take this information and give it back to the people that need to fix it. Like, how do I even go that route? I, I mean, I don't. I just, it's just like, I completely agree. I mean, that's just all I can say about it. I understand his statement. I hate that is how he feels, but I understand his stance on it, and understand why he feels that way. It's just, whew, yeah. I don't even know what
yeah.
else to say after that.
No, for sure.
It's just. I mean,
No, we can see where he's coming from with that aspect.
Yeah, some people don't want to. Some people just want to like just light their pitchforks and go after him and like, how could you say that? It's like, no, you got to slow down and realize he's right. Okay, if you go back on any of the massive PvP threads, you will see non-stop bickering, name calling, trolling. It's just like
Yeah,
I don't understand why people have to act like that. Like there's a couple PvPers right now who don't even really play the game who have an issue with me, and I'm not going to call their name out right now because that would be just that's just silly because I'm not like that. But
I would
I,
do it, but
I'm
you're
not
not
going
me.
to, and you know who they
Yeah,
are because I've told you. But it's just like I don't even know why you have a problem with me, man. It's like I don't talk to them. I don't say anything to them. I've got no reason to have a dialogue with them. They if they don't agree with me, then cool. All right, man. Let's be grown ups about it. Go your way, I go my way. Whatever. It's done is done. And but so it's just I realize that also I'm going to show my age here for people who don't know. I am 37 years old. I am an older man. Like I have a child. I've gone through life. I've gone through my teens and my 20s. I've grown up. You know what I mean? So there was a time where I was probably the same exact way. But I do wish for the sake of the game that we could have a more unified PvP community where the people wouldn't don't feel necessary to just like attack other people for seemingly no reason. So, but it is what it is, man. Oh, man.
yeah, we just kind of have to deal with it,
Yeah, just go with it.
go
Um,
with the flow.
yeah, I do feel like though that MIPS and others should take advice from some players. And yes, I will put myself out there. I do think he should take advice from me and other players with a similar mentality who want to see the game bettered and everything, and not take the advice of players who predominantly just PVE. Like there's it's the whole situation of I just got back into PVE and I just got back into really enjoying it and doing the elite raids and stuff. But you will not catch me at all on a PVE thread that regards elite content saying that this needs to be changed and this needs to be changed because I do not have enough experience in it to warrant opening my mouth and giving feedback on it that could possibly affect the difficulty level or the enjoyment of other players. You know what I mean? So it's just like that whole
Yeah,
situation where I'm not good enough, I'm not knowledgeable enough about that certain area, so I'm not gonna chime in on it. I'm not gonna give my feedback, and I don't expect my feedback to be taken seriously because I'm not experienced enough in it. However, in PvP, I might not be the most skilled player in DC. I am far from it, but I am one of the most knowledgeable players.
yeah. No, you understand what's going
I
on.
know how things function. I know why things work. And if I don't, I take the time to study it and
Yeah,
figure out why and what's going on.
and
Um,
we've been through it all. We know what hasn't worked, what's worked, and what could have worked.
exactly, exactly. So, I mean, it's just like, I feel like I wish that MIPS would, sit down with, a couple other players, not just me. I don't think it should just be me. I think
No,
it should be like almost like a council of PvPers and discuss with them and bounce ideas off and, and go from there. And
yeah, or at least get a dev, not like dev dirt that mysteriously disappear in the middle of it, but
yeah,
get a current dev to sit down with like a group of people and just okay, guys, like, what can I do? Give me some ideas, and I'll tell you if they're feasible or not.
yeah.